We don't have anything fancy this time at the beginning of the meeting. No preamble, nobody who's not here we got to vote on. I look around the room and I note the presence of a quorum. In fact, I note all the board members are in attendance. So thank you all for being here. I'll call this meeting to order. First item is to approve our agenda. I trust you have received a copy. Any changes to the agenda you'd like to see? Seeing none indicated, I'll move to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. The agenda is approved. Now we have the opportunity for announcements by authority members. Anyone care to make an announcement?
Supervisor Andrews has some announcements.
Supervisor Andrews, you've recognized.
We have a, I'm not sure which
A budget town hall.
we have a budget town hall, but this is all, I mean, for ABA. It's not
You can
for
make it.
people who are- But yeah, there's a budget town hall on Thursday night at the fancy next month. Meeting with some Batesville community members tomorrow night, so.
And what time was this meeting?
6:30.
Any other announcements? All right, we'll move on. It's the opportunity for members from the public to speak up. If you'd like to get our attention, use the raise hand feature if you're on the video call, or is it star nine? If you're dialed in, I don't know if we have anyone dialed in.
No one dialed in.
No one dialed in. Okay. Let's see if anyone raises their hand. Waiting. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands up. Anyone else? All right, we'll move on. The consent agenda. This is exciting. This is our first time. Is there anything that anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda?
Sure.
I'm gonna be the one who messes this
Financial
up.
report.
So, you know, no.
Is there a motion regarding the consent agenda?
Move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, consent agenda carries. That's wonderful. That's so exciting. That's our first time. Next, we have the approval of the February 22nd meeting minutes. I sent you some comments. I trust others did too.
There were some minor comments. I did have Bucky making and seconding his own motion. I fixed that. And I had completely omitted the broadband office report from the minutes, and I added that.
Those all sound like good things. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, then a second here. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. The minutes are approved. Thank you, Mr. Fritz. Old business. We're coming down to the short strokes on the Vade 2021 project. What's the update there?
I'll kick things off. Rich Shulman is online. Hopefully we'll be able to hear him. He's away with his son's deployment down in Georgia, so we need to be there for that event. We've got construction that's going on very well in the Bell Store tranche in Cabell and Cobham, which is the northeast corner of the county. So Louisa Road and Stony Point Road are both seeing a lot of activity. Fiber trucks everywhere. I think we've had a couple of people comment that there's been more fiber activity on those roads than any other type of activity, including regular commercial travel. So more trucks and cars. It's tough on the roads and people are driving safely. Haven't been any accidents that we've heard about. So things have gone on pretty well there. So what we've seen over the last week is a beneficial move toward completing all the major construction activity by March 31st, which is the the earmark or the benchmark for making sure that DHCD is happy with the work that the Broadband Authority and our partner Brightspeed have done on this project. In addition to that, last week we got word that orders are now being accepted for 2 of the final three tranches. So we're receiving, Brightspeed is receiving orders from people along Stony Point Road, Lonesome Mountain Road, and other places out in that part of the county. So things are going well with those. And I'm going to allow Rich to give us an update on our pricing challenges. Rich, you on, or can we hear you?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right, fantastic. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. As Mike said, my son's in the Air Force deploying, and so I'm down here spending a couple days with him before he heads overseas. But I wanted to make sure that I joined your call this evening. Yeah, great news, and then some issues that they're having that are not unsurprising, I guess, is like I said, I think on the last call, I've driven Stony Point Pass before, and I know that they've hit some rock there. That's a lot of miles of a lot of rocky road, and that's where they're really focusing a lot of the attention now. All the crews are working on these last few areas to get them done. I just got an email. I've been out the last couple of days, but I literally just got an email from the head of construction that said they're pushing to get all of the construction work done by Friday or Saturday, which gives us the rest of the time to do the turn-up work and the testing. But you know, I would prefer to have been done and on this call telling you we've launched everything, but it's looking like we're going to get closer to the deadline for actually being able to do market launch on the locations that we've got left. But everything has been going real well, and we're glad to have gotten the other, the Stony Point and Eastham tranches are fairly large. I think they were kind of about numbers wise about half of what we had left. So we're working on the last piece. I know Mike may have shared with you he contacted Bill Hanchy, who signed the contract, just to get his confirmation that things are on track there as well. And then I think he's gonna I get daily updates, and I'll be back on the calls tomorrow morning. They do 11 o'clock calls every day with updates on where we are on each of the construction, how much fiber is in the ground. So I'll be on another one tomorrow, but I think Bill had committed to sharing with Mike another update on Thursday. And then I'll probably start, as soon as I get back in the office, I'll start giving Mike and Jason daily updates as to where we are in the process day by day, to be sure that you all are aware where we are and on track.
Okay.
Rich, thanks so much for calling in, and kudos to your son.
Thank you.
Appreciate you taking the time to be with us. That sounds like all very good news in terms of getting the construction finished and being able to go to market for all the facilities by the end of the month.
Yep.
Any questions or comments from Rich?
Okay, so the update on pricing, I'll start that. Monday evening, this past Monday, yesterday evening, we were able to announce that Brightspeed has decided to provide a credit special discount for Valley 21 customers who are being faced with, when they sign up, they have 3 different choices. And the top tier choice, our initial intent was to bring that back down to the same level as all the prior 21 customers. But that has been accommodated through an application of a credit. So there's a lot of questions about the implementation of the credit. We do have assurances from Bill Hanchy at Brightspeed that it is going to be available. So we intend to see, as people sign up in the 2 largest of our tranches, that they'll be signing up for the highest speed tier because they will receive that same discount. What we don't know is how long that credit will last. And those types of things are questions that we're trying to get toward. Rich, do you have any updates on Any additional information on that for us this evening, or we're just on hold until we?
Yeah,
get more?
I think we're on hold. I'm expecting to see more. I think the 23rd is when they're going to implement it. And what I've said is if you just shoot me questions that you all have as you go along, I can make sure that they get asked. You know, one of the questions I first asked was, you know, hey, what about the customers who have ordered in the last few days, who are in the system before the updates put in the system on the 23rd, and the response I've got there is those folks will get the credit as well. So I don't think there's more than a handful of those at this point, because this all just kind of went into effect and we launched those other two areas. But anyway, that's one of the questions that I had. You know, I think you're going to get the same answer on how long will the credit last. It's like you know, the answer you get on anything, how long pricing will stay the same. You know, there's no guarantees, but it's also not one of these. I haven't heard anybody saying yet that the window for two pieces, right? One is how long does the discount window remain open when people can call in and get that discount? I think that's a good question. And then how long does that discount last for? You know, is it what your pricing is going to be until the next major pricing change, whenever that happens? And I don't know the answer to either of those yet. The other comment that I wanted to make was, and I've got to kind of be careful how I say it, but I'm just going to say it, is that I think it took a few determined customers to make some calls to put some emails into the right places to get that to happen. And so anyway, I think there are a couple of folks who are particularly thankful that they took on the extra effort to push a little hard and get this up to a very high level at the company, so that, you know, when people at the right level saw it and saw what was going on, they made the right call to, you know, get the price down to where it ought to be. So anyway, I'll just say that.
I think it's fair to say from our perspective, while we were very clear and direct with Brightspeed leadership about what we wanted to see, which was for the pricing change that they previously announced to exempt VADI 21 customers. It really was a community effort to reach out and make clear what the community wanted, and Brightspeed responded. And so we're appreciative to our community that was present for the webinar and that spoke up about this issue.
Well, definitely seems like better news than we had before. So from that standpoint, that's really good.
And we continue to provide the tracking information. This was most recently updated yesterday. And if we go to the next slide, the take rate has incremented up to 44%. And here you see we're continuing to see an increase in orders placed for the newer project areas, while the remaining ones have, for the most part, plateaued. Next slide.
Yeah.
And then once again, for the percent pending, that is orders that have been placed but have not yet been installed, all of those numbers are tracking towards zero, some faster than others, but in general, we want to get those to zero. So that is generally improved across the board.
All the trend lines.
All of the trend lines are moving in the right direction.
All right.
Mike, before you transition to 22, so the 31st of this month is our deadline. Will there be a communication out at the end of this month on where we are from Brightspeed? Is there any way to check the block on that to the authority?
That's a great question. We'll make sure that happens.
Or at least give us an update at the end of the month.
Right. I think from the perspective of Bill Hanchy, who's ultimately responsible, he owes the Broadband Authority and DHCD further assurance, not just to me, that this project is at its completion stage. So we'll take that as a task. Rich and I will work on that and make sure that we get something official.
Thank you.
Great idea.
Anything else before we move on? We'll take 2022 then, Mike.
Sure, we'll allow Gary Wood to talk if questions come up. You know, it's been a lot of activity in that realm too, lots of activity. Just want to make everyone clear that CVIC and Firefly are working multiple projects in the county, and you know the membership itself are starting to receive activation. So whether you're off the Whitehall substation or the Schuyler substation, all the CVIC members in Albemarle County are now being activated. So that's going to be 100%. You know, those areas will be live and accepting orders. The Make Ready work continues in both AEP and the Rappahannock Electric. We asked for, and they helped us by putting a name to one of the REC areas. It's now called Pretty Creek. So as that one gets activated, it'll work and become its own polygon on the overall map. So thankfully for that. And then AEP, and this is where I may ask Gary to help me. I know they've been working really hard to bring up the Red Hill part of that. We're very much interested in the Keene area and when that'll be launched. Right now, it's to be determined. So Rich, you want to give us an update on that, on Red Hill? And then
Rich can or I can.
Gary,
I prefer to hear from Gary.
Gary, please go ahead.
I wanted to see what kind of commitments Rich was going to make for me.
Tomorrow, it'll all be done tomorrow.
There you go. Sure, I'll be glad to talk about Red Hill a little bit. The Make Ready work from Appalachian Power is continuing and closing in on completion. It got far enough along that we released some fiber crews to work in there. Starting 3 or 4 weeks ago, we have the 288 count fiber, the large one that will be the backbone, across one railroad track, which is good news, right near Red Hill, and out to Route 29 and across Route 29. We actually stopped traffic on 29 last maybe Tuesday morning for a little bit. If you're familiar with the Red Hill, Covesville area, our lines cross just north of the little electric substation, the big transmission lines right there at Red Hill. We come across, and there was it's not CenturyLink or Brightspeed, so I'll pick on them since they're not on the call, but there's somebody who has some really nasty looking construction. I know who it is. I won't call their names. Along that line that runs parallel to Route 29, we have our new fiber going above that. I just don't want people to confuse the stuff that's hanging down and half tied up being ours. That is not our work. It's been there for a while and hanging down, and hopefully one day they'll clean that up a little bit. But our fiber is going from there south all the way down to Covesville, where it will butt up against the fiber that Central Virginia Electric built coming out of Nelson County, right at the very southern end of the county down there. So the backbone construction is underway. Today we released a good bit of the other construction that goes always through Herds Mountain and covers a pretty good area, kind of from Red Hill and kind of the ridge line of the mountains back there across and west. We'll cover everything that doesn't have Firefly already in there over to Batesville and then over to the Nelson County line. For Keene, we have put in the information that Appalachian Power needs to do Make Ready engineering, but they have not gotten to that yet. They are finishing, I think they have one more area before they will start doing Make Ready engineering at Keene. And that'll be the first type of activity. We will have some folks doing data collection in the area. We have to go to each pole and identify the GPS location things ourselves as part of our design. That'll happen about the same time that they're doing Make Ready Engineering. The folks at Appalachian Power are planning to make every effort to complete their design work by about July or August this year, and their actual construction work on all of their Make Ready by the early part of next year. And I don't have an exact date, and I don't want to give one until I can get you one more firm. But Keene is in the mix. Because it hasn't been started, we haven't put a date out. Once we have one and we feel comfortable publishing that, we'll put that date out there. Going back to Red Hill, we're holding a town hall, an online town hall on the 20th of April. If any of you are interested in attending, I'll be glad to get the information to Mike, and he can share it with you. If you've been on any of our town halls, we do them in each service area as we go through them, just providing information on what the residents can expect in the area in terms of the types of vehicles, the order of construction, of what the process looks like. And then we also cover our services and how to make sure if they want to sign up, that they have signed up or will sign up. And some expectations at that point will be a little closer in, and be able to tie down a little closer what the timeline will be for final connections. We do believe we will start in spring of 2023 with final connections in Red Hill. So that's a quick snapshot of the VIDE 2022 area. If you have just a second, I'll be glad to give you some quick stats on the CVEC piece. You mentioned Whitehall and Red Hill and Schuyler in the CVEC area. And maybe I should stop and see. Do you have a moment for me to give you a couple?
Yes, sir, please.
All right. In Whitehall, we have 1,271 passings. We have 850 people signed up for service, so we're about a 67% take rate. Out of that 850, we've got about 350 that have NIDs placed as of this week. We run about a week behind from when we put that outside NID on the wall until we can schedule an inside installation. So my guess would be we have probably 250 or so that are actually online in the Whitehall area at this point. I don't have the firm numbers out of Red Hill, but we did start putting in final services there a few weeks ago. Got a few people online, and just today I see a number of new NIDs that went on Old Lynchburg Road, Dudley Mountain Road. So we're working actively in all of that area, and we're starting down in Schuyler, where we straddle the line between Nelson and Amherst. In Red Hill, we've got 470 passings. And as of today, we've got 270 folks signed up, and we normally see that bump up a little more when we're first in the area doing connections and they see the Firefly trucks around. So things are moving well on that front, and we're working really hard to get all the CVEC people connected. We have finished construction on that network. We just need to get those final folks connected, and we hope to do that over the next couple of months. We have a number of them still in several counties to connect. So that's a quick update. And then I'd like to make a pitch real quickly. We're holding our 20,000 account celebration 2 weeks from today on, 2 weeks from tomorrow on Wednesday, April 5th, at 11 o'clock out in Afton at Veritas Vineyards. We sent an invitation. I don't know if it went to everybody, but anybody who's interested in attending that, I understand it's a day of a county supervisor board meeting or budget workshop, and I'm sorry that we overlap that, but anyone who's interested in attending, we're going to have a program that'll run about an hour and a half, and then we're providing a lunch. I'll send you a link so you can register for the lunch you want. We have steak, chicken, and a vegetarian option. It's a beautiful place, and we're celebrating the fact that we've had some good growth, and we want to thank all of our partners like the Broadband Authority and Albemarle. And You all have been very supportive and helpful, as you have with all the other providers in the area. And we're going to say some thank yous that day. So with that, I'll step down.
Gary, congratulations on getting to your 20,000th. I'm sure it'll be 30 and 40 and 50 not too long after that.
We've come a long way from having 0 paying customers on January 1st, 2019.
It makes the cash flow better, I'm sure of that. Any questions for Mr. Wood?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks for taking time this evening. Appreciate it. So we're still anticipating word from, more than likely, TJPDC is where the word on the 23 application will come, since they're the agency that submitted the application. They're going to be the first to know. At least we hope they're going to know soon.
This is getting to be a bit of the theater of the absurd. I mean, they'll be
Yeah.
making the announcement about the same time they start the process for the next one, you know.
Yeah. So we're,
Do we have any inkling what the holdup is at the governor's office, or?
don't really know. We keep hearing from DHCD that they've finished their work.
I'm sure
Other
they
than
finished
that,
it
I
in
mean,
December. Yeah.
I don't have any additional information.
Okay.
So we continue to ask at least once a week when it's going to be available. And I'm sure there are other counties and agencies and ISPs who are very interested in figuring out when this is going to be announced. Because like other agencies, we're holding our grant funds. We have ARPA grant funds that have been appropriated to the broadband office that we've tied into this. And if we don't know how we're going to be able to use those funds, then that limits the amount of time we have to plan an alternative. So it's important that we know whether or not we can decommit the funds. I hate to put it that way, but you know, the worst case is that we have to decommit those funds and apply them in a different manner. So that's one of the things that we're anxious to hear about. So we're good on that.
Mike?
Yes,
Before you go on,
question.
I'm gonna go up to the screen because it's easier.
Sure.
But I think this is Blenheim Road, Rolling Road, Martin Kings, and then Jefferson Mill comes down this way. What is the prognosis for those areas?
Those are Comcast served.
Uh-huh.
So that's one of the challenges that we're working on, the Comcast activation of anything in those census blocks put us into a difficult situation where we didn't put those, I can't call them one-offs, they're like little pockets of separate entities that didn't come into one of our bigger applications.
Right.
And then what happened after that is that DHCD changed the rules where now it's 110, meaning the minimum is 110. So before there are multiple locations out there where Brightspeed could be the service provider, where people are able to get 40 and 50, they would not have qualified for some of our earlier body grants. So those pockets are one of the things that we're anxious to hear about on the 23 application, because any of those will be identified and then we'll find a different way to provide service for them.
I appreciate it. Now I
Yeah.
use the Scottsville district, but you can tell looking at the map, every magisterial district basically has got something. Thank you.
And from a service perspective, it's important to note the work that is going to go into preparing to serve these areas is happening now. As you can tell, so those orange dots that we've been looking at for the last 7 months, I believe, are the Body 23 application, and they are all surrounded by the red, which is Body 22. And so all of those areas, the work to get them serviced is ongoing and will continue. The delta for this one has always been that we want to make sure that those areas can be connected at the same time, and that's what this grant would guarantee. If something should happen and this would not be awarded, we would still find ways to ensure that those houses would get connected in a timely manner. And similarly, as you were referencing, those remaining pockets that are not served, that hadn't been served by any of our prior projects, we are identifying them using FCC and our own data, and then we will be targeting those for either use of ARPA funds, remaining ARPA funds, to try to find a solution. And failing that, a body 24 application once those are made available.
Anything else on 2023?
No, sir, Chair. I think we're good.
Any questions for Mike? All right, thank you all. So that moves us on to new business.
Oh, just
Ah,
quickly
sorry.
on the BAAO report, you want to take you get the
Yeah,
honor here.
so we've been talking about the regional digital equity plan and the activities around those, specifically a grant that we applied for and some focus groups and quantitative data that we've been looking at. I'm happy to share on all fronts. The qualitative side of that, the focus groups, we had our first focus group in the Hillsdale Drive Jefferson Area Board of Aging Senior Center. And it was a wonderful, wonderful group. And we, I believe, got some really rich data. And so we're excited to watch subsequent ones. I'm actually due to be at Timberlake, Piedmont Housing Association's Timberlake facility as soon as this is over for our second focus group. So we are moving quickly through those. As I mentioned previously, we expect a report on those in May. On the quantitative side, I was able to turn over various chunks of data for the students in the quantitative data side to chew on. And what we're looking for is a better understanding of the economic impact in our community of lacking broadband access, while also trying to identify barriers to access that can be surfaced through demographic and other quantitative data. That similarly will be reported out in May. Any questions on those two?
Not on that, but before we leave the BAAO report, I do have a question.
By all means.
Okay, I didn't know if there was anything, I didn't
Well,
want
There's,
to.
there's one more piece that we'll
Would
talk.
that data lead to then programs to try to solve that?
That's the idea, and as we reach that threshold where access has largely been addressed, as we reach that threshold where affordability is something that we have tools in hand and means of distributing them, then the question becomes digital inclusion in the form of digital literacy, device availability, and even issues that might feel a little tangential, but language acquisition and just familiarity with the use of internet and technology. And so when working in those spaces, it's a much harder than to draw lines around localities and differentiate. And so that's why we want to work as a coalition on these things. And that's why this is, I had the opportunity to explain how to the students how that quantitative analysis, it leads to actionable policy. It leads to legislative language. It leads to policy decisions. And so they're aware of the importance of this work.
Please finish and then I'll just ask.
Okay, so the last thing is the ACP outreach grant. We did, by way of a press release, learn that our application was awarded. It was not awarded to the full extent. However, like every good, smart grant applicant, I did provide some room in my budget to lose things. So that way, if we're not awarded the full amount, we were still able to engage. The goal of this application is to hire 2 digital navigators to work in our community to spread the word and enroll people and assist people in the enrollment of the Affordable Connectivity Program, which is the federal program that provides $30 a month for eligible households. Right now, our area has only a 15% take rate on that. We want to see that much closer to 75. We've got 2 years to do it. We were awarded approximately $250,000 to get this going. We are meeting as a coalition on Thursday. We're going to talk about the grant. We're going to talk about opportunities to work together to extend our funding as far as we can by utilizing our networks to do marketing. So that way we can devote more of the funds towards the digital navigator side and supplement the marketing side with the remaining funds. So I don't have any hard details because we have not received a notice of award and we don't know when the money is going to start flowing. But as soon as that does, we are going to have more to share with you all.
Good work.
Thank you.
So my question slash comment is, and we've been fortunate that since January of 2022, we've not had any major weather episodes. But my sense on BAAO is that the incidence of complaints has almost dried up over the last few months. And at least from, my perspective from the Scottsville Magisterial District, and I just wanted to see, is that kind of consistent through the county? I mean, it seems very few of those coming in, but I don't know, maybe you're getting them directly.
Well, unfortunately, and I don't know if Rich is still on, but because of the construction activities, we're seeing a rise in the number of
But
complaints.
construction activity
I
we can deal
know.
with.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
They don't seem to go away. I
It's
mean, we're,
fascinating to see the complaints have shifted from, well, my former 2 megabit connection is down to 0 because of the rain, and now it's, my fiber hasn't been installed yet, but I can see the wire.
well, there's also just the construction on the roadsides. There's a lot of old, antiquated, and some new fiber as well as copper cables out there that tend to get in the way of plows and other things. And occasionally there are outages that I think I can say this. I think Brightspeed has been much more active in repairing those types of outages. So it feels like we're on the upslope.
And that may be more,
Not working hard up the upslope, meaning
Yeah.
things are moving in a
Right.
better direction.
and that was the sense that I had. And again, I'm not overly concerned with construction complaints because we know they're they're putting in new stuff that'll be better. It just seems like the old system complaints have been much quieter. But again, I don't know if that's just because I'm not receiving as many and now they're more going directly to y'all. But a year and a half ago, it was just every day, it seemed like.
It may be that replacing dozens and dozens of major provision cables, bundles of copper might have actually done something. What a clever idea we had.
I believe at one point we did promise to do a retrospective. In January, we took the prior 6 months of emailed complaints, and we just sort of tabulated and categorized all of the emails that we handled. And at the time, we exempted all of the Body 2020 and Body 21 related emails. So that way, if we had a similar situation where somebody was having their line installed and during that process their copper got cut, we exempted those because those were incidental to other activity. But at that point, there was not quite the preponderance, but certainly a significant amount of Mike and I's day was handling outage or service quality complaints, and in particular, failure to respond, failure to give notice when you were going to miss a repair appointment. If we just did it on the back of a napkin, it would be down to perhaps an hour a week that we spend between
you can
us.
actually do your job.
And so, well, we consider that our job as being community
understand.
customer advocates, and so we continue to do that advocacy work. We just don't need to spend quite as much of it on addressing service of customer service issues related to Brightspeed's copper network. That said, there still are occasions when we do receive notices from customers that state, it never really got better. And when we receive those, the response from Brightspeed is generally much quicker, and they are more likely now to send somebody, even if they have incomplete information, find something to address and address it. Whereas previously, often it felt like we were asking them and then waiting.
Right. Well, good. And so, Rich, if you're still there, thank you for what you and your crews are doing.
We will pass that along to him. He got off a little while ago. Yep.
New business. Is there any new business? Wow, this is great.
This is really upset. I might be able to eat dinner before my next meeting. I don't know if you'll be able to, Jason, but.
We're providing pizza at the meeting, so.
Oh, okay.
Oh, man. Any other matters that need to come up?
I just noticed one thing on your status report.
Yes.
On page 2, it just sort of ends.
Yeah, it does. It went behind the image.
I just couldn't,
Oh, I
so
see.
I think it just might be a formatting thing,
Yeah.
so.
Thank you. I will take a look at that before we, and we will obviously, since there's so many elements of that report that we're still waiting news on, we will provide probably on the 31st, a final update for your information prior to submitting it to the Board of Supervisors.
Very good. Is there anything else? Anyone care to, who wants to get dinner, care to move to adjourn?
Move to we adjourn.
Second, there's a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Cheers.
Thank you all very much.
Great meeting.
Man.